saving not just one life, but a lot of lives around. So I would just encourage people to encourage others who are not vaccinated to get vaccinated, and so that at some point this all can be behind us and be all history. Thank you.
Everyone does it with certain locations. That would mean we're not they are so close did commit a crime.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shin, for a very beautiful summary. It's no more than that. I'm sure some of us in this crowd know more than Dr. Singh about COVID, but it's not a very good summary. And the take-home message is, if you are not vaccinated, I can see some of you here. So please get vaccinated, and so we can fight this thing together. Okay. An interlude. Today is a very special day for me and a host of us in here. Today, I got married to my wife. Began this journey in 1994. Okay, and we're still together. So thank God for it. Yeah, our children are doing very well. It's been a blessing. I shared the day with my pastor too. My pastor got married today too. Pastor Ruani. Anybody in the crowd here that got married today that is proud about their marriage, get up and let's acknowledge you. How about any birthday today? Was anybody born today? Nobody. No, that's fine. Okay, I think we're going to move forward, to the next. Just talk something, Baluch. Or who wants to talk? Is it Baluch or Tab? I think Tab likes talking. Yeah. Tab is going to talk to us about the Macron or whatever it is. Which one is the new one? Yeah. Let's take picture with the good speaker here. That's good. Give them the knowledge. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dr. King did a really good summarization leading up to vaccines. So I'm just going to talk about medications. So certainly vaccines are medications. And, just one quick thing, I'm sure a lot of us are triple vaccinated, right? Triple vaccinated with our boosters and stuff, our third. And like me, I thought that maybe it was the last vaccine that I was going to have to get, right? Until, Omicron came around. And so we do know that this is a brand new variant. There's a lot that is unknown. But, there's a lot of similarities to the Delta too, isn't it? As far as the workup is the same. So if you look at what they're doing right now, for this particular variant, they're looking at neutralizing antibodies, as far as the vaccine neutralizing antibodies. So all the vaccines that we've received, they're checking to make sure that this new variant is going to be covered by the vaccine. And I'm sure Dr. Belosh will want to say a little bit more about it, but there is some concerns that maybe it will be covered or maybe it won't be covered. We'll know in about 2 weeks. That's all it's going to take, is about 2 weeks for them to know if the vaccines that we've received are going to cover it. And I think that's absolutely astonishing that you can go from, such a quick identification of a brand new variant to knowing whether the antibodies that are produced from the vaccines that we have right now are actually going to cover this new variant. So everything that they did from a process standpoint, for the Delta variant and all the variants that, Alpha, Beta, Gamma that came before it, I think really set some good processes in place. And we're seeing that now because they feel absolutely certain that we're going to know, some data, whether it's good or whether it's bad. We're going to know something in about 2 weeks, which is important. So they'll let us know if we need further targeted vaccination against the variant in the future, like 6 months from now, or annual vaccines. Hopefully we won't have to have any. And so that's our hopes, is that we don't have to have any. Now, the other thing that we're looking at, that they're looking at is a separate group is actually looking at the efficacy of the antibody, the monoclonal antibodies that are out there. So we're really relying on our monoclonal antibodies from a pharmaco standpoint. So patients that come in that meet criteria, that don't require oxygen, that are in outpatient settings, we're using monoclonal antibodies. And we do know that monoclonal antibodies are very specific. So they may not cover certain variants. We learned that with pembrolizumab. So that was a monoclonal antibody that we were using early on. And then whenever the Delta variant came, because the way that they target and create it and manufacture it, it can either, it can either on the spike protein target the outside of the spike protein or the inside of the spike protein, different features of it. And what they have found out is some of the monoclonal antibodies are not going to be effective, for certain variants after the genetic changes have been made. So that's another thing that they're checking right now, which they should know in about 2 weeks as well, whether the monoclonal antibodies will work, but they actually have about 5 different monoclonals. We have only been using one. It's the only one that we have to use right now, but there are a couple more that we have never used, and a third one that is used in the United States that we've never had to use. So there's a total of 5. And so hopefully if the one that we're currently using doesn't have activity against this particular strain, maybe one of the other 5 will have activity. The oral agents, we're very interested in getting the oral agents. And so we listened to a podcast and then a WebEx this week on one of the oral agents. And so molnupiravir is one of the agents that we're looking at orally. And then there's also a protease inhibitor that's going to be boosted. That's another oral agent. So we anticipate good activity with that particular product by Pfizer. As far as distribution, these agents are going to be distributed the same way that remdesivir was distributed. So through the states and the health departments. So we have really good structures and infrastructure to be able to have these medications readily available whenever patients need these medications. So we do have some, good processes in place. As far as efficacy of these brand new oral agents, it's still in preliminary works. So the very first one that was out, molnupiravir, they thought that it was going to be about a 50% reduction. And it turned out after the interim analysis that it's about 30%. But then the boosted protease inhibitor, which is 322, is around 80%. So these, numbers are very encouraging, but it is an interim analysis on the protease inhibitor. They're going to be used in a different, probably, population. So, certainly with protease inhibitors, there's lots of drug-drug interactions. We're very aware of that. So that might be useful in one population where molnupiravir may be useful in a totally different population, like an older population or even a male population. But for females of childbearing years, this is not a product that you're going to be able to use for them. The other thing that they're focusing on is testing. So that'll be the last thing I go over. So they have a group that is looking at the efficacy of our testing platforms, and they should know probably around the same time whether the testing platforms that we're using are going to continue to pick up this brand new strain And that's because everything's under EUA status. So they're required to, really hit the ground running and try and determine are any of our assays going to be affected by the different variants? Are we still going to be able to pick them up? So right now, there's only about 4 assays that are on the list that they do not feel like are going to be able to pick up Omicron, but the assay that we currently have at Midtown, which is a multiplex, it actually looks at 2 separate targets, should pick it up very nicely. So the target, there's a third target that some of the other assays really target, and the one that we currently have, it's not that particular target. So we should be in good shape, but it is something that we look at on a routine basis to make sure that we have the right testing in place and certainly the right medication whenever patients come, either from the inpatient perspective or outpatient perspective. We want to care for all patients, no matter, what their severity of illness is. And I'm kind of interested in what others have picked up about COVID too. So whenever Dr. Berloche finishes, we would like to, certainly answer any questions you have, but this is something that has never happened before. There's so much information out there about COVID that I'm sure, you've probably picked up a lot of things that maybe we don't even know as well.
So my question is, with the variants we got now, came up with vaccines, monoclonal antibodies, stuff. Now with the new variant, which is still in testing, are they working on antibodies for that before it hits us? Since this is still not really here yet, to where we can kind of protect ourselves before or if we have another wave?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they're checking the 5 that are currently already manufactured to see if they have activity first. But you're right. If they get to the very end of all this and our monoclonal antibodies don't have activity and our immunizations don't have enough activity, so they're thinking that it's going to have some activity, but it may reduce it from maybe 80 down to 70%. And they still don't know if the cellular immunity is, it's going to escape the cellular immunity. So that's part of that testing that they should know, at the end of 2 weeks, hopefully they'll have the cellular immunity escape down as well. And so if all that ends up being unfavorable for both monoclonal antibodies, all 5 of them, and the vaccines, they're going to start doing the targeted vaccination. And what's really good about messenger RNAs is that it can be upscaled quickly. So they can not only target Omicron, but they can scale it up quickly and get it out. And that's the beauty of the messenger RNAs. But yes, definitely, they will start manufacturing and targeting. But my hopes is that they'll, certainly have some that we already have on the market that's available.
Is it working now?
So there is a
This one?
product up there. It's called JSK from Sortumab.
You want to?
Oh no, let's sit down. We can start the questions. So there is a monoclonal antibody being checked right now. Sortumab by JSK. Yeah, that is against the non-mutated region of S spike protein. So there is some promise there. But again, messenger RNA platform changing it to Omicron vaccine will take some time. Just like this.
Okay, thank you. So you're not going to say it.
No, I did not.
Okay, yeah, you could answer all the questions then.
Yeah.
Well, that was very good. Okay. Those of us that are just coming in, if you want to have any drink or some things to snack on, there's a lot of drink out there. I'll spend too much money on the drinks. So if you don't drink it next year, you're not going to drink water. I'm telling you. That's what I'm going to do. So please make sure you take care of yourself, enjoy yourself. And we're going to open the floor for questions now. Let's tap into this panel's knowledge. Dr. Basi will be the first one to ask the question. I'm going to call people to ask questions also. Dr. Basi, can you ask from the point of view of Nigeria? Yeah, Dr. Basi. He's still eating. Yeah, just come and eat my food.
Okay, everyone. But no, that's mad.
Dr. Okoroba, another Nigerian.
No,
Are you ready?
I don't have any questions. So, with the new variants, which we have now. Oh, okay. We are going to have another one in future, another one, until all the Greek alphabets is. So, would there be any difference between COVID and influenza virus? It will become endemic, constantly mutating, and every year we have different vaccine to it.
Good question. You are saying that because we are not able to take care of ourselves and we let this virus infect all of us, and then by the time after a few years, it's going to be endemic. That's what your question is?
I don't think.
That's not what he said.
He said it's
Asking if we are expecting different strain every season, year after year. Just like the flu having what and when period, moving from region to region.
Is this gonna be the new flu?
Yeah, it is possible, but it's a biologic, it is a biologist question, not an infectious question. It is possible.
Well, Dr. Basi, that's a very good question. For my own personal infectious disease experience, I have the feeling that the whole world, one time or the other, is going to be infected with this virus, either subclinical or clinical. Okay, so and that's going to be one of the ways we're going to fight this disease, by the vaccination, subclinical infections, and I think that's what's going to happen. We have to come to terms with it, because this is what the world is going to do. Okay.
Why do we have different mutants or mutations from in South Africa, Nigeria, different from China, America, and all that?
Well,
Variant, it happened in an immunocompromised person. If you look at this variant, the thought process just happened in an immunocompromised person, probably HIV AIDS patient. So if we let the virus multiply inside, and the way this virus has mutations and it is all accumulated on spike most of the mutations, it points that it was in one person in which it kept on multiplying, maybe 200 days. One of the article I read, the virus was in a person with HIV for 200. The UK variant was in a person with lymphoma on rituximab, and the person lived for 109 days. Received multiple treatments with plasma, as well as remdesivir, and then he died. That's where the UK variant started.
And one of those cases reported US as an vaccinated patient. Well, no, so far there has been no death reported from Omicron. Maybe too soon, but I mean, the fact that there are no reported cases, or the virus is mutating to a non-lethal form.
that would be good.
American variety, there's 2 from Africa. How many varieties are there known out there now? How many different?
easy transmissible and or severe enough to cause high morbidity and
in terms of the virus, one of the common factors which they have really identified is that the mutation is all in the spikes protein, is the alpha variant and the further variants. And of course, it goes through the whole process of mutation and it becomes a wide virulent variant. But since the common mutation is going to be in the spike protein, one of the theories that these vaccines which we have actually got are all from the spike protein. So there is going to be some protection from these variants, be it the Omicron or the Delta, whatever it was. Till we know this virulent aspect is dies down, is where you need to buy your time to see how you can save the people. If that's what it is, the question is the presentation of this particular virus, Omicron, is very mild, whereas the Delta had more upper respiratory symptoms. This is getting more myalgia, very non-specific viral-like presentation. There's nothing very sinister about it except that they say it spreads early, but it's been found in the younger people than in the older folks. So I don't think anybody really knows what is the status of this micron, but we are just taking caution to make sure we're not now overstepping where we fell through 1 year ago. So in consensus of how you all look at it, we all still think the vaccine which we have is going to be protected. I know in 2 weeks' time, we'll have some answer to that. What is your feel if, like how we go through the influenza pattern, it's a different viral thing, but whenever we take a vaccine, that vaccine doesn't have the current virus. And it is actually, we are protecting against the 95% of the virus which has been there existing before. So is there a similarity in this, or we can still safely say spike protein messenger RNA vaccine is much more safer in a broader sense?
The way we want to treat this problem first, this Omicron or whatnot, is to identify it quickly. And then, as Dini pointed out, that we have oral antiviral agents. They work with totally different mechanisms. Like the PI causes protease inhibitors, when they multiply, they kill the virus. It doesn't let the virus multiply. And then that vulnerable where it does totally different. It puts mutations inside our and stops it. So the way forward would be testing. Like the Biden has said that from next month we'll be getting, everybody can go buy a test and the insurance is going to reimburse. Infectious Disease Society is totally against that. We want these tests to be free. We want anybody going to a pharmacy buying a test without any cost. So that's number one. Identifying the virus is number one. Treating the virus with monoclonal antibodies and the antiviral would be number two. Coming to the vaccine, the messenger RNA vaccine, the platform is so good that you can come up, you can tweak it a little bit, and you can come up with a newer vaccine, but it will take time. And then to disperse it, it's going to take time. Creating a vaccine and then sending it out, it will take time. That's one part of your question. Other part of your question was, is it this going to be like a flu, right?
Right.
Maybe, but the problem with the flu is this. It is not based on a messenger RNA, the vaccine. And then they look at the flu in the southern hemisphere and they predict what is going to be in the northern hemisphere because the summer and winter, right? So this is a totally different. I mean, we have moved for 21st century. We have more science. We have better techniques. We have moved. I think we have moved forward, right? We have better understanding of this virus. But the problem is the scale, the sheer scale of this virus. It is all over the world. It's a pandemic. And we have all the tools here in this country, but what about Africa? It boils down to this, are we going to protect the whole world or are we going to be the first? There are multiple questions to ask. I'll let you.
The summary is bottom line, we don't want to. But we know the mechanics of how to do it, but we never know what happens in the next 6 months. I hear what I hear about me.
Second change. Pardon.
Tó bá gbọ́ àti ló fẹ́ ṣe.
Mo fẹ́ ya àdúró pé kò máa tán.
And I agree. That's what IDSA changed its position. I'm not sure if it's always that way, but IDSA now, you know, in the newest podcast says it embraces that people want to live their lives. And so tell us how to live our lives safely. And which is a different message than, you know, what we heard 2 years ago, closing everything down, you know, just protecting ourselves through just pure isolation. That doesn't work. And, you know, their analogy the other day in, you know, in their presentation was that's the same thing as telling, you know, young people to abstain. It's no different. So we're, you know, we need to live. And so we have to learn how to live safely. And that is, the things that they're stating at this point might be something new, you know, to the Christmas gatherings would be, you know, your family. So right now, I've already picked up all of our, you know, antigen. And then everybody feels safe, you know, coming and being able to, after 2 years, actually have a real family holiday that we really have not had in 2 years.
Right.
And what I've heard over and over again is what to make with that? How is that?
Let me answer the question. There's something called herd immunity. And herd immunity is when you have probably up to 60 and 80% of the population vaccinated, the chances of infection get less. How do viruses, how do they replicate? Of course, they have to be able to regenerate themselves. And it's during the regeneration that they make mistakes, and mistakes leads to mutation. Okay, so if you have less infection, and less people are infected, that could be infected in the community, then the chances of mutation technically will be reduced, and that's what herd immunity refers to, and that answers the question. Very good. Okay? So that's it.
Well, Dr. Rowe, doesn't that speak to the fact that maybe we are going to have to be responsible for the rest of the world?
Well, yes, there's nothing wrong with it. The rest of the world is less privileged. If you don't take care of them, it's still going to affect us, because if you don't protect them, those mutations are mutants that you're worried about. Look, everywhere in the world is 24 hours from here. You know, somebody can get on the plane from Australia and fly here within 24 hours. So this fight is not only within America. If America, if they're privileged, you know, or the developed world, if they're privileged to help the whole world, you know, why can't they help? We're in together, and if that doesn't happen, this war is not going to be over. Okay, so that's my own personal way to look at it. That, you know, if you are privileged, extend your hand, lend a helping hand, help the developing world, let all of them to get vaccinated. In my country now, Nigeria, I'm not sure what the percentage that is vaccinated, maybe 1%. Nigeria has more than 180 million people.
How do we spread this philosophy, or this? Obviously, it's a game planning, it's a philosophy, because you know if the virus mutates.
Yeah, where's the question? Where's the question? That guy's question. Okay. Well, like I said, you know, the whole world is watching us as we're in this room now. We're on Zoom. I mean, my friends all over the world, you know, are watching, and some of them have sent questions. You know, at least I think we need to include them too. So this question is actually from one of my brothers, you know, who lives in Nigeria. So what he said is, why is that the new variant is more dangerous than the existing variants?
We don't know that. We don't know that.
Okay.
The more dangerous.
Yeah. It's still this new variant. We don't know whether it's very infectious, whether it's more, whether it can attack the immune system walls. We don't know yet. It's going to take time. Yeah.
We know that it's more infectious.
Yes.
The way it is spread into South Africa. I mean, a week ago, the story was different. Today, the story is different. It is spreading like fire in South Africa.
Now.
Yes, right now.
Okay.
More than, I said, 2/3 of people, the newly diagnosed patients in South Africa are Omicron. And then the other problem with this variant is that it is reinfecting. People who have been infected in the past are also being reinfected. Now, again, this is very fluid situation. This is based on early data. So we have to keep our eyes and ears open and see what happens.
Good. Good. Thank you. Well, I want to recognize some people here, you know. I want to recognize my backbone, Ultra Care Medical Office staff. Please, if you are here, you work for medical office, Ultra Care Medical Office, if you supported me in any way, my scribe, my MA, my officer manager, just get up to be recognized. I really appreciate you. And I just want to see you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Tamika, did you work for the health care? Tamika, I'm very hot. Get up and be recognized. Hey, get up, get up, get up. That's Tamika, my nurse practitioner for the last 1.5 years. She's been wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Who wants to ask the next question? Okay.
Is having people tested before they come over a guarantee of safety, considering the false negative?
You mean the antigen test? The
Whatever,
rapid test?
whatever test
Yeah, it has
they,
to come
they must have
positive.
gone for, and you say, okay, well, they've been tested, they can come over for Thanksgiving, they're safe. But is that really truly a guarantee of safety?
No,
I don't think anybody.
anything can,
Yeah,
yeah, but it is a better strategy.
it's a layer, so it's just a layer strategy, so you can definitely get false negatives and you can get false positives with the antigen test. And those are the over-the-counter ones that you can get, so certainly you would want your family members to not feel bad and, you know, not be symptomatic and then take the test. So the first layer is everybody needs to feel well before they even think about coming over. And then be vaccinated, you know, be fully vaccinated. Feel well, be fully vaccinated and take an antigen test, but nothing is 100% for sure. But it is another layer.
Which takes me on to the second question. Do you think there's been any superiority found in someone who has had the infection in terms of immunity, antibodies, as opposed to the vaccine?
I can answer this question.
I can answer it.
Oh,
Have you had COVID before? Listen, I had COVID July 2020, and I took my first shot in December and the second shot in January, okay? From my own personal experience, I tested my antibody 2 weeks ago. My antibody was off the roof. It was more than 2,500. I mean, it was a lot, which tells me something, personal experience, that I don't know how everybody reacts, but from my own personal experience, if you had the COVID infection and you get the shot, of course, and you get the 2 shots, it's like you've already got the booster. That's my own personal experience, okay? So, I mean, some people can still get the booster, but I've not thought about getting the, the 3rd shot because of that. Because I tested my antibody. Whether this antibody will protect me very well, I don't know, but the value is so high that I think probably exposing myself to another vaccination might not be very wise, And that might explain why some people, when they get the, like the booster, sometimes they get sicker. I don't know, but from personal experience, I think once you have the infection and you get the 2 shots, most of the time you're good. Okay.
I want to put the record straight. So, yeah. So, your question was that a person who gets natural immunity, is it better than the vaccine immunity? Yes?
That was my question. That's the question.
Yes. The answer is no. The answer is no, based on science, not on my personal information.
It is based on science.
Yes. If you look at MMRW from last month, there is a study out there, the CDC has published. People who have natural immunity, 90 days to 100 and like 6 months, from 3 months to 6 months, they were 5 times more likely to get reinfected. All right, than the people who are vaccinated. Now, coming to his question, I got COVID, he got COVID, and Dr. Dan got COVID. Huh? Every COVID is not the same. Some people have mild COVID, some people have a severe COVID. Their antibodies are going to be different. So you cannot rely on natural immunity to say, okay, so we know that for fact. You get a COVID and you get a vaccine, your antibodies are going to be super. That's fine. But we do not know how long they're going to last. Why are you going to, why would you buy a car which is sometimes performs, sometimes doesn't perform? Why don't you just go and buy a vaccine, get a vaccine, get a booster? And at this time, I think the booster is the way forward at this point. Anybody who's 18 years old or older should go and get a booster right now.
Question for you, Dr. Owen.
Mhm.
When you have anybody out of
Thank
that
you.
high, is it IgM, IgG?
What do you think it is?
IgG.
Oh,
IgM.
let Dr. Jiang to answer.
IgM.
Why would it be IGM? No, listen, let me talk to Dr. Jiang, please. We are talking on the level, okay? Hey, what do you think, Dr. Jiang? Is it IGM or IgG?
I don't IgM.
Why would it be IGM?
It's early.
No. IGM usually 4 weeks after infection is gone. It's the IgG that comes up after 4 weeks. So you want to have the IgM. Yes. It's the IgG they measure, it's not the IgM. If you're measuring the IgM, that means you're measuring an infection within 4 weeks. I mean, short.
Well,
Okay.
COVID actually superimposed. IgM and IgG is, this is the only case I've ever seen really in the laboratory where IgM and IgG are superimposed on top of each other. So speaking with,
What's 3 months? By the time the IgM
no, they're both.
No, let me come.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
I mean, like,
No, listen. The IgM, of course, is not going to go down like this. It's going to stay up for some time before it comes down, okay? The IgG peaks, okay? So the window you are seeing in between those two might be what you're talking about, okay? But the IgM and the IgG will still see some. So with time, the IgM will go and the IgG will stay high. That's it.
For COVID.
Yeah, for any infection.
Well, no, see, but for COVID.
It's different. Why is it different? Hey, listen, we have somebody from Emory here. She's very brilliant. Morehouse, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She's the program, was the program director. She's the director of medicine there now. Huh? That's my sister. Please, let's talk from the Atlanta version. Let's hear from them.
Well, first of all, thank you. Yeah. All right. So I'm not an ID because I'm family medicine and he's done all the introductions wrong, but that's okay. What's important is that a lot of the things our speakers are saying, they're too highfalutin. We need them to bring it down to a layperson's level so we can truly understand it. Because when we're talking to our patients, we need to know how to communicate it easily, whereby a third grader can even tell their grandparents what we're talking about. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Professor. I told you at the beginning that I have all the grades that are better than Harvard and Yale here. So what do you expect? So from now on, please bring it down to our level. Okay. Okay. Who's that? Angela, you are different now. You look younger. What's going on? Your husband must be taking good care of. Where's your husband? May God bless him. Oh yeah, ask her a question.
They have AstraZeneca. We have to beg people to go take those vaccines. I mean, we go on WhatsApp, on our WhatsApp family forums, and beg folks to go take the vaccine. They tell you it's fake. The government want money. That's why they're talking about COVID. There's no COVID. There's nothing. So the percentage of people that are vaccinated in Sierra Leone is less than 2%. But then there was a time when they had to throw the vaccines away because they expired. The people are not just taking them. So the one way we have to do is not just say we have to give them, we have to encourage those people to get the vaccine because it's really a big issue.
Okay, so what do we do with this? Education. Yeah? We have to look for ways, on the radio, on the TV, educating people of the importance of, getting this vaccine. And this is what we're talking about, that this is the way to go, okay? Look, education is wealth. If you are educated, if you know something, your thinking most likely is going to be different. I know that, I mean, in this country, I have a lot of patients that, that have refused to take the vaccine, a lot of them. And if you hear their reasoning, you're just going to shake your head, A lot of them are still doing research. I ask them, I say, how many research have you done in your life? That all those people that have done, all the scientists that have done the research, they've given out more than how many doses of COVID vaccine now? Probably. Everybody should be down on the street, or people should be walking on their head. Have you seen it? We know that people that had for the fourth, the third wave are those people that didn't take the vaccine. They're the ones that are dying. So what else? How do you want to prove it again? So education, that's the most important thing, okay? So we need to do it. I'm going to go to Nigeria next year. I do this in Nigeria. I think I've done like 2 of them. But by God's grace, with the support of everybody here, all of you come and eat my food every year. You never give me any donation. So today, I'm seeing your faces, If you come and I send any tab to you to donate to my cause in my country. What's that? Huh? Is on?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. And you don't donate to my cause, I will not invite you next year. Okay? So, and I know the people that donate. I thank you very much. Okay. So I just want to really appreciate, everybody. More questions? More questions? No, I'm going to be a racist today.
Oh, don't be that.
If you ask one question before you, that's it. Who's there? Ad? I'm sorry, Ad.
Okay, my question is, so if you're fully vaccinated without the booster, is it okay or reasonable to get your antibodies tested or titer before you get a booster? No. Because my concern is not that you're not getting the booster, but at least wait a year from when you were originally vaccinated if your levels are high. That's what I'm asking.
Well, I mean, professors, what do you think? Or you want me to answer it?
I don't know how to answer this, but I'm going to tell you something. So the people who are immunocompromised, instead of 2 doses, need 3 doses of vaccine. There's permitted for them.
But we have a special population, we have informal patients, they got a vaccination, no antibody.
Well, you need 3 doses.
Even 3 doses.
And then you need a full dose.
And again, most times, the people have children with rituximab, the block CD20, they don't respond, because we understand it now.
And then the people with bone marrow transplants,
Transplant patients, cardiac, renal, and liver transplant. They're both the antibody response is only 60%.
So this is
That's because of the inherent immunological system is already dampened. They're not able to give the immunological response. And in those patients, they are still at risk. So they still have to follow the masks and all the necessary things, whatever they have to follow. Because in our transplant patients, when they get a COVID infection, most of our transplant patients, Dr. Smith is sitting behind Dr. Molly right here. They don't do very well at all because their native immunity is so dampened because of the immunological system, which is already by all the immune-mediated medications what we use. They don't do well. A lot of my patients, transplant patients, have died. So that's the main thing. We don't have one test to tell what is our immunological system is existing in our body to know how we are going to react to the vaccine. So because of that, we cannot have a universal mandate. Everybody is different. Everybody has to follow what you need. So that's an important thing. Transplant is a different kettle of fish.
Let me just answer what you mentioned. Have we, and obviously you've been seeing this as well. Have we seen people who are fully vaccinated, so-called antibody levels on the high side, intubated and dying from it? No.
No.
Have I seen patients who have had 2 shots, have tested their antibodies outside, which are high enough and they've not taken the booster? Have I seen them on high flow admitted for weeks in the hospital? Absolutely, yes. I wish that answers, right? Yeah. So yes, you probably are not going to get on the ventilator. But if you have even some comorbidities, there is a chance that you can be in the hospital admitted with respiratory problems, probably will be fine and get discharged in 2 or 3 weeks or whatever time, depending on your condition. But we have seen patients like that. I hope that answers that antibody testing is not the perfect test which should determine whether you should get a booster or not, because we have seen now, we don't have a randomized control trial which will match 2 groups, which has high antibodies after 2 doses, the other not. If we get that, that will be a very good answer. But as of now, we have been seeing patients who had 2 shots, have had their antibodies tested, decided not to get a booster, and have been admitted to the hospital, maybe not in the ICU and not on the ventilator, but none of us want that, right? I'm sure we don't want to be in that situation, even though we make it through and get discharged. So I hope that answers maybe a little bit.
It's kind of sort of, but okay, so then let's say you get the booster. So then what do you do now from that point? Make sure you do the same thing, the 2 and then the 3 again?
We don't know it yet. We don't know because we've not reached that point yet. And when we do, then we have an answer. But I do, I have seen patients who have had 2 shots. They still have had to be admitted. And they said we were not going to get our boosters because we got our antibodies.
That's my point, because we have a lot of patients that don't have antibody response. So it's important when you get an antibody infusion. The sooner better. So that's critical.
It comes back to the same point. Testing.
So my question is, what's the best antidote for all of us becoming?
There's some question from
Monica.
Monica is a real estate mogul.
All right. So anyhow, as far as in us all being so worried about, being exposed to it, what do we do to build our immune systems? And not only that, other question I would have is, as far as my children, I'm a mom of 3 kids. And so my children are 10, 6, and 8. And so my thing is, what can I do to boost their immune system naturally? And all of us, we all want to know, what can we do to build our immune system naturally?
Well, Monica, number one thing, let me ask you a question, okay? Have you taken the COVID shot? Good, that's okay. That's a very good beginning, okay? And most kids now too, I think it's been approved, for years. Everybody can get there. 5 and above, yes. Most children in America, if you eat well, if you eat a balanced diet, you take all your shots, you go and see your doctors, you're not malnourished, you should be okay. I mean, America is blessed, it's not like the developing countries where, children, their nutrition is poor, So I think based on our environment, we should be able to, your children should be okay if you've taken the shots and they've taken the shots too, okay? Yeah, Dr. Amusu. What was that?
What, do you guys think we're going to need...
Give it to you.
Do you guys think we're going to need like a mix of mRNA and DNA, vaccine to eventually get rid of this thing? Because like a mix of Moderna and J&J or a mix of Pfizer and J&J. Looking at it, one would want to think the J&J vaccine will protect better, against any strain that comes along, as opposed to, the mRNAs that were developed into spikes.
Well, little break, please. Like I said, there are a lot of drinks out there. If you want to have a drink, if it's water or something, you can get up and get some drink. The bar is just around the corner. Okay, don't be shy. You're not going to pay for it. Okay, so just go and enjoy yourself. Okay, that's why we're here. Okay, so who's going to answer that question?
So there's a lot of information that came out at ID Week this year with mismatched vaccines. So definitely it looks better if you're like Pfizer or AstraZeneca vaccine for you to have a booster with Moderna. So definitely Moderna looks better overall. They have some really good charts too over time, and it's actually stratified by age groups, and you can actually, plug yourself into that age group. And this is free information that's available. And you can see, well, where are you at 6 months if you fall into that age group? Are you all the way down, probably to about 60%? But we do know that mismatched vaccines do look better with Moderna being the booster, unless you start out with Moderna. There was one study that was still pending where you started out with Moderna, you started out with Moderna and the Pfizer was the booster. It looked like the multiplication factor was going to be bigger if you had a Pfizer after the 2 months, but that arm was still at IUSA. So overall, Moderna is certainly better. And they should have the booster of Pfizer after the 2 Moderna information available soon.
Yeah, but given that those two vaccines are mRNA based, I'm talking about, a DNA, it's a DNA based vaccine that will presumably, maybe protect against any variant that comes up.
Okay, so first of all, the answer is no. Johnson & Johnson vaccine is not a good vaccine as good as the RNA. All right. So what they have seen there in the United States, we have 3 approved vaccines. One is Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer. They've seen the mix and match good results, but Johnson & Johnson with Pfizer or Moderna is not, or with Johnson & Johnson is not as efficient or effective. As Johnson, Pfizer or Moderna. As Adini pointed out, that study was done with the full dose of Moderna. Nowadays, the booster is 50 micron, not 100 micron. So I do not know. I wouldn't have. I did mix it. I did 2 Pfizer and I got it. But it doesn't mean that I'm more protected than somebody who got 3 Pfizer. But it just what I did.
Yeah, I got the 3 Pfizers because ID week was 1 week after I got my booster of Pfizer. Otherwise, the data really looked much better for the booster and the Moderna, and I would have gotten this.
Thank you. Well, as always, no, please, not yet. I just want to appreciate someone who's my best friend, my best man. He was there the day I got married to my wife. He was my best man. He lives in Maryland. He's a well-known nephrologist in Maryland. He came here to honor me. Barry Osman, God will honor you. Who has the next question? No, that's one question per family. Okay. Larry, you've been asking too many questions. No, Larry, no. We have to be fair to people. Okay, Joy.
So, do you have any recommendations for patients that are immunocompromised that had the first and then the second vaccine and then got a booster before this idea of getting a third vaccine came out? Do you have any recommendations? So they had the first, the second, and then the booster. First, second, third, and then a booster. So you're immunocompromised.
Everybody's looking down. Your question has befuddled everybody. Let me bamboozle her too. You bamboozled my learned professionals.
So what do you mean by immunocompromised? All immunocompromised are not born equal. So what I'm talking about, the immunocompromised was patients with Dr. James. the blood cell tumors. That's what I meant. Those people need 3 doses of vaccine and then a booster after 6 months. The way, if you're getting Pfizer, you get 0, then 3 weeks, then 4 weeks, and then 6 months of booster. If you're getting Moderna, 0, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, and a booster in 6 months. And Johnson & Johnson is 0 and then in 2 months a booster or a second.
Let me get some.
Immunocompromised HIV patients in particular.
Yeah.
What would be your recommendation?
Yeah. Hello. All 3 of them. The way we IDSA tells us is that do not wait for the vaccine. And complete the regular 2 doses of Pfizer, 2 doses of Moderna, and a booster. HIV again is divided in AIDS and then the non-AIDS. The people who are AIDS are immunocompromised are considered immunocompromised. People who have CD4 count of more than 200 are considered as immunocompromised.
That's good. Okay. Listen, every year that I do this, if there are new physicians in town that are just joining the community, I always like to introduce them. So at least we get to know them. We've got a very seasoned gastroenterologist, by the way, from Egypt, who is joining us in Columbus, Georgia, Dr. Holloway. Get up so they can refer the connections to you. It's a new in town, okay? Okay, maybe it's time for me to call people to ask questions now. Dr. Farike is my big brother, always. Great time nephrologist. Nice for you to come here again. I'm so sorry, I'm very, very sorry. Forgive me, okay?
That I'd like for panelists to answer this. One, when the virus was first recognized, it started from China, and then it came over here to Europe. We had a lot of people die in China, and that was it. Now, you can say that the Chinese are not very transparent, but since then, we have had thousands of people die in this country. And so, as many cases in Europe and other parts of the world. My first question is, what is it that we are doing or we are not doing that makes us susceptible to this virus to the extent that it's wiping out so many people? Now, that was, you can argue that that was before the vaccines came on board. Now that the vaccines have come on board, people are still dying. Again, the argument is, oh, the non-vaccines. But I think there is more to it than that. And those are the things that I'd like for our panelists to address. Is it something about us, something unique to Americans that make us susceptible to this virus that is killing us like chickens? Thank you.
Well,
so there's a data out there that you can look at New York Times every day. They publish the status of.
I don't think that mic is working.
it's not working.
It's not working.
Don't worry. It's working. It's
So the people who die in the United States are.
This one's working.
The mortality rate in a non-vaccinated United States is 20 times higher than the vaccinated person. That every day they publish the data. New York Times, you can look at it. It is free. You can log on and see. So it tells me one thing. People who are not vaccinated are high risk for getting the infection. People who are not vaccinated are high risk of coming to the hospital. And people who are not vaccinated are very high risk from dying from COVID-19. So,
Dr. Nicholas. Oh, yeah, it's voice. Okay.
I might not be the most seasoned physician here, but I think it's a very simple answer to this. That there's really nothing very unique about this virus. Very honestly, people might disagree with me. If you're vaccinated, it's very likely you're not going to die from this. If you're unvaccinated and you have comorbidities, then you have a very high chance of dying from this. I think because of so many different reasons, we think too much about this virus, and there's strong reasons for that. But at the end of the day, it's a very simple answer for exactly the majority of the questions that people are asking. It's vaccination. Very, very honest.
Okay. This has been good. Okay. Because I think I see some people yawning already. Dr. Nicholas. So just 2 more questions, and we know that there are a lot of questions, but we need to cut it short so we can eat some food and we can have some nice time, okay? Dr. Nicholas.
I believe there is a link between obesity
Of course.
and mortality.
Yeah.
And certainly we are very much overfed country.
I agree with you entirely, Dr. Nicholas. Yeah, so I mean, sometimes there are some advantages from being poor, okay? So in the poor countries, you know, they don't have enough reserve. They don't have much of the diabetes, you know, all the comorbidities that we have in America, okay? So that's a big one. At the beginning of the pandemic, you know, there are some risk factors that are listed, you know. Obesity is number 1, diabetes mellitus, if you have chronic respiratory problems, COPD, but anything that, you know, I mean, affect your immune system is likely to make you very susceptible to this infection. So it's something that is, you can't hear me. You can't hear me. You can hear me now, my voice is loud. Okay. By the way, so that's a very simple thing to say. I mean, I don't know how we're going to do it, you know, but sometimes there's some problem with being too rich too, you know, and that's unfortunately, that's one of the problems. But I think I'd rather be rich than be poor, okay? Last question from this, my father, this is the only person in this room. Oh, no, my sister is here too. Yeah, you can get up, get up. That's my sister, same father, same mother. Yeah, the youngest of us, okay? Oshodi, I'm sorry. And that's the husband, Pastor Oshodi, yes. Oh, Audrey Care, you remember the book that I was giving out to you guys? Yeah, that's the author. Yeah, that's him, okay? Yeah. This is another Olubuale. My father was a very prolific man. He married 8 wives. This guy is from the youngest wife. I will tell you a story, very funny. Let me tell you a story. So, one of my wife's wife asked me to eat. You one of mine. What are you talking about? Listen, Jerry. So I said I should write a letter of invitation to the American embassy. So I took letter. I said my stepmother, you know, is applying. So the officer took the letter. I said, this guy is 50-something-year-old, and this wife is 40. How can this one? Unfortunately, that's how they didn't give the guy a woman visa because of the problem that my grandfather created. But our own mom was a very good mom. Can I answer your question, please?
So I'm not going to respond about that. Well, I've seen, I've heard about cases where people that have been fully vaccinated and this is that of COVID. Can you explain why, we have such of people, being a victim of COVID dead after they've been fully vaccinated.
So the people who died, who've been fully vaccinated, they've had multiple comorbidities or they've been immunocompromised. And like Dr. Belur said, immunocompromised is a very broad term. The most common of immunocompromised have been people who had transplants, like renal transplant or some other type. They've had to be on or anti-rejection medications. So vaccines in those patients don't work that well. So majority of the patients who died, who've been fully vaccinated, have been sick or have had reasons for being severely immunocompromised to the point where the vaccines don't work on them. Does that help?
Well, a little bit. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, say from actually, doctor told me this, and he's one of our patients, and she said she has never been. I mean, she's not sick. She's kind of, she's okay, and she went to go and get the vaccine, fully vaccinated, and thereafter, she contacted COVID and she died. So
well, that's a very, you see, a lot of things.
You have some kind of
yeah, you never know.
Now, she's not. She doesn't have.
No, you don't know.
Sorry, I'm just saying.
That's
what she claimed.
Yeah.
Based on that she doesn't have. How old was the patient? Say it again. How old was the patient? Oh,
very 90. So that's a very subjective thing to answer, okay? But anyway, listen, I think we've done very well tonight. You've all come out, you've all listened. You want to talk? Okay.
Just a second. I think Dr. Farika was talking about the Chinese, the comorbidities, and the Americans. I think the infectious disease folks need to also explain the role of mask. Because basically the Chinese is uniform. Yeah. So you could look at last year, the rate of flu was very low because of masking. So I think that also should not be underplayed. I think that's contributed to why the Chinese mortality is.
Thank you. Good contribution. Okay, so anyway, I think at this point we need to call it quits to enjoy ourselves, to eat. There's a lot of food. This time, I do not have any American food. I brought only Nigerian food because over the years, everybody goes to the Nigerian food and it finishes very fast. So this year, we only brought Nigerian food. Try whatever you can try. It's very good. I cannot leave this podium without talking about my brother and my sister. Okay, they're new in this town too. Okay, they've been very good to me since they came. Anupa and Dr. Gupta. Anupa is going to be the internal medicine residence program at St. Francis Hospital. And she was gracious enough at least to invite me to be one of the panelists there too, the infectious disease. And Dr. Gupta is the obstetrician chief here. Welcome to Columbus, Georgia. May you be blessed here, okay? So, is there anything anybody wants to say? What do you think about this format, this one? Do you think I should leave it this way? I should leave it the way that we did at Trade Center? Or we should cancel it? Let's take a poll. If I go to do a Trade Center, you have to put your you can't just say Trade Center. When you see my donor side, go and put money there. If you put money there, then I can do that at the Trade Center. Do we not all enjoy this? Don't we enjoy it? Yes. Anything you give is tax deductible. If you die, you're not taking the money to heaven. So why don't you just, make the cause? Let us smile. We are seeing each other. We are touching each other. We are smiling. What is life about? What is life about? Life is about touching each other, talking to each other, interacting with each other, and just being able to smile at each other. The day that God calls you home, That is the end. Okay? So please use that as a principle in life. Give, give, give. Whoever gives, receives. Okay? If you don't give, you can't receive. I always give, and that is why all of you that are sitting down here today, I did not place a single dime, towards you all, because I've given to people, I've sold, and they're helping me. Okay? So do your part with the human race. Okay? Thank you. We pray that next year, all of us are going to be here again. It's going to be at the Trade Center or whatever. No, I don't like the Trade Center. I will tell you why I don't like it. It is stressful. Every year that I do at the Trade Center, I sweat every morning. They're going to ask for the food, the food person. They're going to ask for the health license. They're going to ask for the insurance. They're going to ask for the father's nickname before they bring the food there. This place, I like this place. You can bring whatever you want to bring. Even all the drinks, all the drinks I can bring, I brought. So that's why I was asking you, do you guys like this format? Because I know that, you remember the good old days, I used to give you tickets. I'll give 2 tickets. No, we are too much for that. This one, go there and get drunk. Make sure you don't get drunk because you are driving home, okay? I wish you a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year. I love all of you. And next year, I'm going to be standing tall like this to say hello to you and smile to you all in the mighty name of Jesus. So we're going to, the food is out there. I think it's going to be wise to just go table by table. There's no food. There's no point to go and be in the line for too long. I'm just going to ask you, if there's a food that you don't know, don't try to take it. And don't try to mix things, because what happens is that, it finishes and everybody's not able to, there are some people to guide you there, okay? They'll point you to the right food. Don't mix what is not supposed to mix, because tomorrow morning might not be a very good day. So. You might have to see Halloween. God bless you all. Go and enjoy yourself, get a drink, and you can go table by table. Thank you. You have to eat. Professor.
You should be a fan of the meeting.
You guys know me. But that's me. Small. Come. You should see the guy that I'm telling you about, this is the model. That's special to me. That's special, very, very special. Whatever you can do to help them, please. I'll talk to you, okay? Pastor. Yeah.
No, only checking.
But it's